Hi everyone, this is Constellations here. I'm very pleased to be able to give you guys Kirara Math Guide 1. Now I'm not supposed to do cover Math Guide first, but since we got new details for Kirara, and I would love to do, I actually wanted to do Kirara first. Because aesthetic wise, she's also very interesting, right? So we're gonna do the usual, go through talents, passive, constellations, and the entire kit summary. I'll briefly touch on weapons and artifacts in general as well as its forms. Before that, we will talk about her stats, so let's dive right in. So stats wise, I think just looking at her base HP, you should know that she is a HP skilling character, right? Especially for a 4-star character. In fact, there are 4-star HP skilling characters that don't even have 10k HP. They have something like 9.7k. Yeah, I guess it's almost 10k, but yeah, you get what I'm trying to say here. So she's actually a sword user. So her base attack isn't that high because she's a HP character anyway, and base defense is actually a little low for a sword user. But it's fine because she's not really a how should I put it? Her kit with her kit her defense isn't that bad, and she has HP ascension in her HP stat in her ascension, which makes sense for her to be a HP scaling character, right? In all the weapons and whatever stats you see here, those are not updated per se. Okay, so let's talk about her talents. Now, before you watch this, do bear in mind that I can't share the gameplay video, but do check out the gameplay video because the EQ and NDs are pretty nice on the animation. So the reason why I brought this up is because while Kirara's normal attack shouldn't really be used in terms of like meta builds per se or optimized builds per se, it's pretty amusing to see Cat Claw strikes in the animation. I gotta say, in her normal attacks and also her charge attacks. Uh, that being said, let's go on to talk about her elemental skill E. So you'll see her E has a press damage, a whole crash damage, and a whole final damage. And vision to it 10 seconds, which sounds just like someone in Inazuma, right? And she provides you shield, and there's a concept of the shield and max shield. So that you know from this that there's some kind of stacking, right? Shield duration is 12 seconds, and the cooldown is 8 to 12 seconds. So she has the concept of basically Sayu. Kirara is Dendro Sayu for her E in terms of the concept, because you have a press and a hold version, you hold for a longer duration and also a longer cooldown while you're damaging and moving at the same time. Essentially, she becomes a puzzle and goes around hitting, crashing enemies. Now, the difference with Sayu is that she actually generates shields with her E, and they can set through her passive to this max shield damage absorption. Okay? So if you look at these multipliers, I can tell you guys that it's actually higher than Zhongli in terms of multipliers, at least at the same talent level. It's actually higher than Zhongli's talent multipliers. But that being said, right, Zhongli's shield is still stronger because dual shields have 150% bonus against all elements, right? Obviously, Dendro damage Kirara's shield will be stronger, but you gotta have a scenario where you're constantly taking Dendro damage. I guess you can say Bloom comms have those, but it's not gonna be like the full damage, right? But you get what I'm trying to say here, right? So her shield is probably the second strongest. Once if she doesn't get nerfed, if she does get nerfed, because this is like a very early video, right? If she does get nerfed, then yes, she is going to be the strongest shielder after Zhongli. Zhongli is still the strongest, right? I mean, come on, he's Archon. So her whole E actually allows her to be a Dendro driver while looking really fun to use as opposed to spamming normal attacks. So how effective is she as a Dendro driver? That brings us to the ICD, right? Based on what we know now, her E press and E hold final both have no ICD. So when you do the press, when she does a kick, and the hold final, which I think she does a kick as well, or a claw that attack, I can't remember exactly. But both of them have no ICD, while her E hold crash damage has its own ICD category, but still standard ICD. So in a sense, the most important thing, right, is that firstly, this means that regardless of whether your E-hole crash is still on ICD, your E-hole final damage will always apply Dendro and chain reactions. So this is kind of similar to Sayu. Sayu's press and whole final hit is the same. Now, secondly, the standard IC on her E-Crash actually sounds really good or pretty good because if you think about it, right, if she likely deal, I think she likely deals damage at most everyone 0.5 seconds. There's no way to verify this yet until we see like gameplay videos of her hitting enemies like that. But if it works like Sayu's, right, it's gonna be every one at most once every 0.5 seconds. What this means is that in theory, if you're constantly hitting enemies, right, you can actually apply Dendro once every 1 seconds on the same enemy. Now, in actual fact, because of how the steering works, this may not happen. Okay, but yeah, in theory, she may have a Dendro application of once every 1.5 seconds instead of every 1 second. So it's pretty good because at once every 1.5 seconds is a lot of application in 10 seconds. It's like 7. Yeah, it's about 7. Assuming you do manage to hit the 1.5 seconds. Worst case scenario, if it's 2.5 seconds or slightly lower, right? Which you should be able to achieve, by the way. You should be able to get 5 hits in because 0 seconds is the first hit. Gotta consider it that way. So her Dendro application is pretty good, at least during her whole E. You got like 5 to 7 instances. And also all of her E application is 1U. So one whole E isn't just 5 to 7, you still have the E final, right? So that's like 6 to 8. Yeah. So this is her E, that's of the ICD. Okay. Now, energy generation wise, the E press and whole final will generate 3 dendro particles each. The whole crest actually generates 1 dendro particle every 4 seconds. So you have 0, 4, 4. Right? So that's 3 particles. Sorry, 0, 4, 8. 0, 4, 8, so that's 3 particles plus the 3 particles from the final hit. You effectively get 6 particles for the full hole. For E press, you get 3. It may be possible to do like detect, like Sayu, where you do like a very, very short hole so that you get 4 particles. Should be viable, but we have to see whether it's really the case. Yeah. So that's it for her E. Let's talk about her Q. So first off, her Q multipliers are just like Zhongli's. So I can say that Kirara is also like a Dendro Zhongli because she has same very high shield multipliers just like Zhongli. Although she doesn't have like still providing I wanted to say residence because that's the actual term. I didn't want to confuse people with the residence, but basically like a AoE attack, okay, from his pillars. And a high damage Q, just like Zhongli. There is also attack scaling instead of HP or HP scaling character. She obviously doesn't have the stronger features for Zhongli, like the universal resistance shred and his crazy long petrification duration, right? But in return, her Q generates 6 little cat bombs, so it's also kind of like Klee. Yeah, so she's like Zhongli, Klee plus Sayu mixed together, her entire kit. Now, these 6 little cat bombs are scattered in front of her like a diamond sliced in half with bombs at each point, so it's kind of 60-degree as well. If you try to visualize, right, it's something like this: 1, 2, 3. Okay, and on the other side it's the same. So that's the diamond shape that I'm talking about. Now these bombs will explode upon contact or after the duration is up. So in the event that when you first cast it, for some reason some of the bombs did not come into contact with any enemies, right, especially the smaller ones. If there are new enemies spawning and they happen to go into your bombs area, they will still explode. Yeah. So there may be some value in getting some animal pools into the com. Only some of the dendro comms have animal, not all. Okay. So against the large enemy, they do provide 30% more damage if you look at the 6 cat bombs over the total skill damage as well. Okay. More importantly is the extra dendro application. But at the same time, because of the way these bombs work, right, they actually spawn the moment you cast your Q. They don't spawn over time, which means that her Q has no reliable off-field damage or dendro application. So it's not good for someone like Cyno. She's not good for someone like Cyno. In fact, she's not good off-field. She's like more of an on-field character. Now her ICD, Q, the first hit of a Q, the hard hit actually applies to you, with no ICD. While the Q cat bombs, they apply 1U each with its own ICD category and it's actually standard ICD. So the 6 bombs here is going to offer you 2 Dendro visitors. Okay? Now whether it's worth to go DPS on her or full HP support or possibly hybrid, we'll explore in detail in the future math guides. But at the very least, we have covered the talents. Let's go on to talk about the rather active talents. Let's go and talk about the passive talents. Now, A1 passive is very, very, very long in description. I'm going to try to summarize it here. Okay, essentially, when you use your whole E, every time you hit an opponent, you get a shield that's 20% of your usual E shield. Maximum, you can do it 3 times, so 60% total. And you can get a stack every 0.5 seconds. Which, like I said, right, if she's like Sayu, where she damages at most 1 every 0.5 seconds, it's going to be very simple. Just get 3 hits. Get 3 hits on her whole E, and you will get a 60% that will actually stack onto her E shield, the initial shield that spawns when you use your whole E. And this passive is going to be how you achieve the max shield in her E, because 60% additional on top of the base E shield actually gives you the max shield. It's perfectly in line. Okay. So effectively, this passive is use your E hole, hit 3 enemies, get your max shield. Simple as that. Now, the next passive, A4 passive, it actually gives you a bit of HP scaling. Every 1000 HP, you get this amount of damage boost onto the E, and this amount of damage boost onto the Q. But to be honest, the damage bonus it provides is too low. At 50k HP, you only get 20% damage bonus on your E and 50% on Q. Both of this is likely going to be the usual damage bonus and not separate multiplier. Because based on the description, this belongs to that category, that goes on together with all the normal attack bonuses, elemental damage bonuses, Q damage bonuses, whatever the case is. So it's pretty weak if you think of it that way. Yeah, so it's like a 20% bonus for your E and a 50% on Q. And at 50k HP, which is quite a fair bit of investment already. So you can think of it as it's a weak HP scaling. It's better than nothing, I guess. Yeah, better than relying wholly on the attack when she's a HP scaling character or speed scaling character. If you really want to, yeah, actually you can say that she's a speed scaling character with both attack and HP. This helps a bit. This makes her HP more useful per se. Now, as for the utility passive, it's kind of similar to Sayu, but instead of crystal flies, it's for animals who produce the foul raw meat and slash or chilled meat. So this is very meh. I guess it's good for Timmy memes, but that's about it. Yeah. I always forget how to pronounce. I just know how to pronounce this. Foul or foul? Okay. Anyway, doesn't matter. So that's the passive. So passive very very straightforward, right? So basically, you have one passive that helps you get your max shield as long as you use your whole E and hit 3 enemies. You will have a passive that gives you a bit of HP scaling to help with a whole split scaling situation. Then you have utility passive that's somewhat like Sayu's, but it's not useful because it's this. I mean, I'll welcome you to be crystal flies. Alright, let's talk about constellations. Constellations C1 again gives you some more HP scaling to help with a whole split scaling kit. And it's every 8000 max HP that Kirara possesses cause her to create one extra cat bomb for her Q whenever she uses a Q. So basically, all you need, because a maximum of 4 extra can be created, which is a bit weird to me. I thought it should have been at least 5 extra so that you target something like 40k max HP. But anyway, with this in C1, 32k HP basically nets you 4 more bombs, which is about 200 plus attack. Getting to like the total attack that's dealing. Obviously with the HP scaling as well from this. So it's good against large size mobs, but less predictable otherwise. So essentially, right, with a C1, if you have 32 HP or more, you will generate 10 Q cat bombs instead of 6. That's it. Now, moving on to the next constellation, C2. C2 is actually a bit unique in the sense that it's actually a constellation that's completely designed for co-op and does not benefit single player at all. Yeah. So it's a weird decision on their end, on Hoyo's end, right? I mean, typically I thought they would create a constellation that works well in co-op, but should work for single player as well. But in this case, the C2 was entirely for co-op because the way it works is that you only grant this 40% shield, 40% of your original E shield, the normal shield, 40% of it whenever she crashes into other party members when using her whole E. So obviously it doesn't work for single player, right? Because there's no way you can crash into your other team members when they are off field. This is a full co-op constellations. Okay, so 0% value in single player. A little weird in my opinion. Now C3 basically increases the level of E, which no surprise because that's like her main feature, right? The whole moving about crashing into enemies and giving you a shield. Now C4 is the interesting one here. Because what C4 does is that when you have an active character who's protected by the Kirara shields, any of the shield, be it the C2 shield or the normal shield, when those characters hit opponents with a NACA or PA, Kirara will actually perform a coordinated attack with them using the Q bomb. Now this Q bomb, the cat bomb, it has a higher attack, it's 200% of attack, so you can think of it like last time with 4 level 9 Q, it's almost 4. Yeah, almost 4. 4 is slightly higher than 200%. So the damage dealt this way is considered as elemental burst damage, which is not surprising because this is like mirroring the Q cat bombs, right? What's interesting is that the effect can actually trigger once every 3.8 seconds. I'll talk more about this shortly after, but more importantly, this constellation actually enables off-field and Kirara, which makes it a really good constellation. Because although it's every 3.8 seconds, still better than 5 seconds. Because you gotta understand that 5 seconds has kind of been the norm for coordinated attacks so far. If you need reference, right, you can check out C4 Cookie, you can check out C2 Baidu. Both of them are coordinated attacks that trigger when they themselves are not on field, and they have a 5-second cooldown. But for Kirara, hers is 3.8 seconds. And more importantly is that this really allows her to have some off-field Dendro application. Although obviously 3.8 seconds loses out a lot to say someone like Nahida, right? 1.5 seconds, or even Baidu 2.5 seconds. Oh, and those coordinated attacks from C6 have a shorter cooldown, but that's because it's C6, right? C6 has to be stronger. So, in case you want to use those to compare with me, with what I'm saying here. But generally speaking, although it's 3.8 seconds and not, say, something like 2.5 seconds, right? It's still sufficient for Quicken, 3.8 seconds, but not Bloom, unfortunately. Which means that Quick Bloom can't work, right? Because Quick Bloom will consume your Quicken aura. And you may consume it too fast if your Kirara is a solo Dendro. This means that the C4 is good for Cyno Aggravate, but not Quick Bloom. But obviously, the entire duration is still 12 seconds as opposed to Baidu's 14 seconds. Your shield lasts for 12 seconds, right? 12 seconds of her being off field. Because while she's hitting enemies and gaining stats, the shield will actually reset the duration. Okay. Now, this coordinated attack also shares ICD with her Q Cat Bomb's ICD. Now you see you are technically speaking able to generate 10 bombs, and with C4 you are gonna be able to generate another 4 bombs in theory, if you are fast enough. But likely 2. Likely 3. So 10 plus 3, 13. which is a good number because that gives you the extra one more based on how ICD works. So it's pretty decent. Now, obviously, the only thing is that it's every 3.8 seconds. So, like I said, right, it's sufficient for quicken, but not for bloom. So, bloom related comms, this isn't that great. It may not be sufficient, but for a aggravate comp, yes, it's good enough. So for Cyno with pure aggravate comp or aggra spread comp. Alright. So I really like this C4, and I'm probably gonna try to get this C4 as long as her character banner isn't on characters that I can't afford to get 5-star off. Those that I already have C6. C5 increases the level of Q by 3, so C5 may not be that bad here, given that she also have quite a bit of damage contribution from Q, obviously not the highest per se. But it remains to be seen because, like I said, her Q skills on attack for HP scaling character. Technically speaking, I can say that she's a speed scaling character, yeah? Now, C6 gives you 12% all elemental damage bonus within 15 seconds after Kirara uses her E or Q. It's actually very easy to trigger her damage bonus. And the thing is, I'll say it's fairly decent for a support character. The damage bonus is slightly lower than the usual 15% if you compare to, say, C2 Yunting or C6 Toma. But in return, you do get it being applied to pretty much all types of attack because it's all ally damage bonus, right? As opposed to a regeneration of only normal attacks or charge attacks or PAs, yeah? And also a longer duration of 15 seconds. Because if you compare to Toma and Yunjin, they are both shorter than this. So there's a bit of a trade-off here. Lower damage, but more damage types and longer duration. So in terms of all the constellations, I'll say C1 is decent, C2 is only for co-op sadly, C4 is good, and C6 is decent. Yeah. Alright, so with all of that, right, since I've spent 20 minutes in this video talking about her talents, her active talents, her passives, her constellations, right, let's talk about a kit summary. So after going through all of that, right, how is Kirara? Basically, if you enjoy Sayu's E gameplay-wise, if you enjoy Sayu's E, you would enjoy Kirara. Personally, I'm looking forward to using her as a Dendro driver, to be honest, because it looks pretty fun. Like, when Sayu was first out, it was very fun to use her rolling around, doing all those shenanigans with all her absorptions, right? Now, meta-wise, she may not be the best, because nobody beats Nahida, okay? Even for Dendro driver. But the fun factor is definitely there, right? And I'll say her kit is actually pretty strong support-wise, because she provides a really strong shield. Baizu's shield are so weak that I can tell you his shields are basically flat damage reduction. Because you have to understand that any strong hit with high interruption that breaks your shield in the same hit actually interrupts you. So with Baizu's shield being so weak, right, it's actually there's no interruption resistance. It's basically just flat damage reduction, 800 to 1000 flat damage reduction. Kirara, on the other hand, provides really strong shields. Remember I said her multipliers are even higher than Zhongli's. And a similarly strong Q, but only if you build her DPS or hybrid. Like my Zhongli is hybrid, so my Q strike is good enough to clear like mobs. I mean, it's not like super high damage compared to those really hard hitting Qs, right? But it does the job because it clears mobs and it provides CC. Now for Kirara, on the other hand, she will have a higher damage than Zhongli. Slightly higher, but not significantly higher because of the Q bombs, right? But to be honest, overall, if you think about it, right, her Q is not going to be that impactful damage-wise. Or maybe slightly better based on the 50% bonus. But yeah, that 15%, honestly speaking, is too little to be a huge difference. But her Q does provide good Dendro application, especially if you have your C1. Those bombs are not for damage. Or rather, they do provide damage, but the most important thing about those Q cat bombs is the Dendro application. And C1 further increases that by 2 instances. Now, in terms of Hydro procs, she's not going to work well with Xingqiu because her Dendro driving isn't via normal attacks. So I can already see that people will say that she sucks because she doesn't work with Xingqiu, right? But I think it's fine because, like I said in the future meta video for Dehya and already covered that, right? I definitely see the meta for Fontaine as hydro pods that are not dependent on normal attacks. I.e., they're going to introduce you hydro characters in Fontaine that give you hydro procs, they are not dependent on normal attacks. Why? In fact, it's getting more and more obvious to me. Because Fontaine, the Hydro Nation, is going to need characters that can replace Xingqiu and Yelan. Otherwise, how are they going to attract you to pull for those Hydro characters? And what's the best way to do this? To replace Xingqiu and Yelan without nerving them or power creeping them. Is to change the meta, or shift the meta to non-NA based Hydro procs naturally through the other characters like Dehya and Kirara. Now, why I say that there's no power creeping? Because Xingqiu Yelan comps, whatever comps that they do work now in, still will work well. It's just that when you use the new Hydro characters, you will need these other character, or rather, it works best with these other characters like Dehya and Kirara. And then you have the so-called new meta where it's not any base pro, it's based on taking damage, etc. I'm sure there's more to come, but for now, yes, the complaints about her not working with Xingqiu and Yelan are totally valid. But I think that it's likely going to become outdated in like the 4.x versions. So I'll leave it up to you folks to decide whether or not working with Xingqiu and Yelan is a deal breaker or not for you. As always, since we are talking about future meta, it's perfectly fine to just wait for Kirara reruns if you want to take a conservative approach. Yeah, perfectly fine. I just wanted to cover this point. Yeah, about her not going to work well with Xingqiu or Yelan if she's the Dendro driver. But you can just use either Ayato Q or Kokomi or the new Fontaine characters in future. Now, to summarize, I think that she looks like a really fun character to use, who will perform decently in the current meta, with some potential for future meta where she can easily rise through tiers as a support on-field driver, if it really does turn out like what I've mentioned. Now, her cons will also improve her Dendro application, especially her C4 granting her off-field impact. Now, it's not like a strong rate of application, but at least it's there. Another angle to look at this is that the new 4-star characters that do not come with new 5-star characters, right? When there are versions where you only get a new 4-star character without any new 5-star characters, I noticed that they do tend to perform well for the sake of sales, which makes sense, because they gotta get some sales, right? So as Hazel will be a good example. Like the last one I can think of is the last one that came to my mind was Hazel, where he's a new 4-star character without a new 5-star character within the entire version. Okay, entire version. I know Mika didn't have a Mika were on rerun banners, but Mika is a bit different because Mika is like a physical support, and he also had a new five-star character, Dehya, together with him in the same patch. Now, personally, I would, like I mentioned earlier when I was talking about the cons, right? I would like to try to get at least C4 Kirara, because she may be together with Yoimiya and Alhaitham. I'm hoping this. I'm hoping for this. I'm not sure whether you will turn out like this. I did see some leaks, potential leaks about her being on the rerun banner for Yoimiya and Alhaitham. Both of which I'm okay to get more cons, even though I don't really need more. But it's better than pulling C7 or C8 of a character. Yeah. So that's in terms of her entire kit summary. You can take it as more or less the most crucial TLDR of this video. But I just want to cover 2 more points pretty fast, talking about them in general. So in terms of weapons, right, I have not done the detailed math, but based on the kit, it's pretty straightforward. It's either going to be HP Skilly Swords like PJC for DPS or hybrid builds, or Key of Kindness Suit for support builds, which is the Nilou signature weapon, or support swords like Favonians or Syphils if you're building her EM on her, depending on the comp. Other 4-star DPS sword options may also be feasible, but they're going to be less ideal. So we'll see how that goes in future math guides. Now, artifacts wise, I feel that as a Dendro support, the choice that you can't go wrong with is obviously for Deepwood Memories, right? Unless she's not the solo Dendro, then you have more options available, but it also depends on her role in the comp. So for example, 4 Flowers of Paradise Lost or 4 GD for a triggerer role is nice. 4 Nobliss for a support role, give some 20% attack, and also improving her kill damage. 20% ER and a 20% HP miss, or even a 40% HP miss if you want to go hardcore on HP. or maybe even 4 emblem for a Q nuke build. So I do see some viable options here and there for her. We'll explore the artifact comparison in future map guides. So that, like I said, is a very quick general mention. Now let's talk about Kirara comms. She should perform best in comms where you need an on-field Dendro driver through her E, and that comm obviously has to be not non-dependent on normal attack procs. At the same time, she gives you a good shielder role, right? So please refer to kit summary on like the future meta and any procs that I just mentioned. If you have C4, she can even support Cyno with a shield and off-field Dendro. Because, like I said, the C4 triggering every 3 seconds is good enough for the aggravate or aggra strat comms, but not for quick bloom. Quick bloom, you may run into the risk where your hydro is consuming your quicken faster than your. Actually, if you think about it, even for quick bloom, might be able to sustain, but it really depends on how your combo works out. But to be safe, just use her with. If you have C4 of her, just use the C4 Kirara with Cyno in aggravate or aggra spec just to be safe. Because it's a matter of whether the Dendro application from her C4 being triggered every 2.8 seconds, does it happen before or after your Dendro, your Quicken Aura gets consumed? Okay? Because in Quick Bloom comms, the Hydro actually reduces your Quicken duration because it reacts with it. Now, her strong shields open up the option of using 4 TF on Cyno too, allowing you to lower your ER in your Cyno, thus improving your Cyno DPS, right? But she does have a standard off-field duration of 12 seconds. In fact, it's less than 12 seconds if you take into account that she has to do like a whole final damage, right? The whole final damage. The kick. So that will take like 1 second before you switch out to Cyno. Or you can just ignore it and just switch. No, it doesn't work that way. I think the only jumping cancels, right? Sayu's E. Yeah. But either way, potentially it's more like 11-second off you for your Cyno. So Baizu obviously is better in terms of like off-field duration because Baizu has 14 seconds. So yeah, that's the comp that I see for her. So either on-field Dendro driver or a Cyno support. If you have C4. If you don't have C4, don't even bother with the Cyno support. Okay, it's not possible. It's not an option. It's only an option with C4. Without C4, then it's on-field Dendro driver for her. While being really fun with the whole dashing around thing. No TLDR because 4, 5, 6 is pretty much it. In fact, 4 is the majority of the TLDR, 5 is more like a quick mention on her weapons, artifacts, and comps. And that brings me to the end of this video. So we pretty much finished the DQ cat analysis. I mean, this is a very, very early video. This is like V1 Kirara. So I'll definitely do more updates as we get more and more Kirara changes. And we will do Kirara comps as well as artifact comparison, weapon comparison, constellation, the usual categories that we will always do. The usual in-depth analysis that we will always do for my math series. So yep, thanks everyone for watching. I hope the content has been helpful to you guys. If you like the content, review my video and click subscribe for more. Bye.